Her body was found on a pile of stones, a snake coiled around her neck, occult symbols carved into the earth. The police said it was an accident. The evidence said otherwise. For over 50 years, whispers of witchcraft, cover-ups, and a killer who vanished into thin air have haunted this small town. But what really happened to Jeannette DePalma? The truth is more terrifying than fiction. A quiet New Jersey town, 1972, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your secrets. But on a sweltering August afternoon, 16-year-old Jeannette DePalma stepped out of her house for a walk and vanished into thin air. 6 weeks later, a hiker trekking through the woods near Springfield Township would stumble upon a nightmare. There, in a sunless clearing, Jeannette's body lay posed on a crude altar of jagged stones. A dead snake coiled around her neck like a grotesque necklace. Animal bones littered the ground, and beneath her feet, a pentagram had been carved into the dirt. The police declared it an accident, exposure. They said, but ask anyone in town, and they'll tell you a different story. They'll lower their voices and say words like ritual, sacrifice, evil. Here's what they won't tell you. The case file went missing. Witnesses clammed up. Even the photos of the scene gone. And for 50 years, Jeannette's family begged for answers, only to be met with silence. Was this a tragic accident? A cover-up? Or something far more sinister, buried so deep that even the woods themselves were bulldozed to hide it? This isn't just a cold case. This is a warning, and the truth is still out there. To understand this mystery, you need to see Jeannette DePalma as more than a victim. She was a girl who painted her bedroom walls with wildflowers and galaxies. A teenager who sneaked out at night to ride her neighbor's horse, bareback and breathless, under the stars. Friends called her the daydreamer, always sketching in her notebook, humming along to the Beatles or Led Zeppelin. But behind those daydreams was a storm. Jeannette grew up in a devoutly religious household. Her father, a steelworker, demanded strict obedience. Her mother believed even rock music was a sin. Jeannette rebelled, dyeing her hair, sneaking to parties, and writing poems about escaping the cage. One friend later said, "She wasn't just angry, she was terrified." Of what? She never said. Then there's the diary, the one the police returned to her family, its pages filled with sketches of owls, inverted crosses, and a single cryptic line, "They're watching me now." Was it a metaphor? A paranoid rant? Or proof that Jeannette had stumbled into a world she couldn't escape? Even her final days are a contradiction. The week before she vanished, she'd confided in a friend about a secret admirer, someone older, someone who made her feel alive, but others swear she'd grown withdrawn, jumping at shadows, refusing to walk home alone. So who is Jeannette DePalma? A free spirit crushed by her upbringing? A girl playing with forces she didn't understand? Or a pawn in someone else's twisted game? The answer died with her, but the questions? They're still screaming. August 7th, 1972, a day that started like any other in Springfield Township, humid, sticky, the air thick with the smell of pine and gasoline from the local mill. Jeannette told her mother she was going for a walk to clear her head. She wore cut-off jeans, a faded Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and the silver necklace her grandmother gave her. The last words her mother ever heard her say? "I'll be back by dinner." But Jeannette never came home. By nightfall, panic set in. Neighbors fanned out with flashlights, calling her name into the woods. For weeks, search parties combed every trail, creek, and thicket. Flyers with her smiling face, that smile, wide and a little mischievous, plastered every shop window, phone pole, and car windshield. The town held its breath until September 19th, when a hiker named Walter Briggs veered off the Appalachian Trail to relieve himself and stumbled into hell. What he found wasn't just a body. It was a tableau. Jeannette's remains, decomposed and scavenged by animals, were meticulously arranged on a stack of flat stones, as if placed there with reverence. A dead black snake curled around her neck like a collar. Deer antlers and rodent bones circled her feet, and beneath her left hand, a pentagram, not some teenage doodle, but a precise, foot-wide symbol gouged into the soil. But here's what chills me. The police didn't cordon off the area. No forensics team in hazmat suits. Just 2 officers, a Polaroid camera, and a shrug. They hauled her body away, dismissed the symbols as kids messing around, and left the stones stained with her blood to the rain. By the next morning, every local knew. They just didn't say, because in Springfield Township, some secrets aren't meant to be dug up, even if they're buried in shallow ground. The moment Jeannette's body was found, Springfield Township split in two. On one side, the police, insisting this was just a tragic accident, a girl lost in the woods, dead from exposure. On the other, the townspeople, who knew what they'd seen, that altar, that snake, those symbols. And so, the whispers began. She was into witchcraft, claimed a neighbor, pointing out Jeannette's diary sketches of owls and pentagrams. I saw her talking to strangers in the woods, said a gas station clerk, though he couldn't describe their faces. By Halloween, the rumors had teeth. Teens swore Jeannette had joined a satanic cult that met in the abandoned Hessian shack deep in the woods. Parents locked their doors early. Church sermons thundered about the devil's work. But here's the thing, not a single piece of evidence, not one, ever tied Jeannette to the occult. So why did the story stick? Because it was easier. Easier than asking why the police didn't test the soil around her body for toxins. Easier than wondering why her silver necklace, the one she never took off, was missing. Easier than admitting that someone in their quiet town might have done this. But let's talk about what they ignored. 2 weeks before she vanished, Jeannette told her best friend, Linda, that a group of men in a black pickup truck had followed her home from the diner. They'd shouted things at her. Nasty things, Linda said. She begged Jeannette to report it, but Jeannette refused. They'll say I'm lying, she said. And then there's the shack. That rotting, boarded-up Hessian shack just 200 yards from where her body was found. Inside, searchers found cigarette butts, empty beer bottles, and a red hair ribbon. Jeannette's sister swears she owned one just like it. But the police? They never tested it, never even took it as evidence. And then there's the exposure theory. Let's break that down. The medical examiner estimated she'd been dead for weeks, but offered no cause. No signs of trauma, no drugs in her system, just exposure. But how does a girl die of exposure in August, when temperatures hit 80 degrees? Why was there no decomposition on her palms or knees, the parts that should have touched the ground if she'd collapsed? Why did her body look placed there, like a doll on a shelf? The cops didn't want answers. They wanted the case closed. So they buried it, literally. Jeannette was quickly interred in a private funeral. No public memorial, no protest, just a headstone that reads "Gone too soon," as if she'd drifted away peacefully, not been left to rot on a pile of stones. But the people of Springfield Township didn't forget. They just stopped talking. Families moved away. The Hessian shack burned down in 1975. Faulty wiring, they said, and the woods where she died, bulldozed in the 90s to build a parking lot. Coincidence? Or convenience? Here's what I think. When a town is this desperate to forget, it's not because of what happened. It's because of who might still be out there. For decades, Jeannette DePalma's case gathered dust in a forgotten corner of the Springfield Police Department. That is, until 2014, when a box of leaked documents landed on the desk of a local journalist. What he found inside wasn't just sloppy police work. It was a black hole. No autopsy photos, no toxicology report, no fingerprints from the scene. Even the necklace Jeannette wore every day, a silver dove her grandmother gave her, was nowhere in the evidence log. And the original police file? Gone. Vanished. Like someone had scrubbed Jeannette's death from history. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. Was this incompetence or a cover-up? Theory number 1. The wealthy family rumors swirled about the Hendersons, a powerful family who owned half the town in 1972. Their son, Michael, was 20 at the time, a known troublemaker with a reputation for harassing local girls. 2 witnesses claimed they'd seen Michael's blue Mustang parked near the woods the day Jeannette disappeared. But when police questioned him, they did it over lunch. No formal interview, no follow-up. And in 2014, those leaked documents showed the Hendersons donated $10,000 to the police union just weeks after Jeannette's body was found. Coincidence? Theory number 2. The serial killer between 1969 and 1975. 5 young women vanished within 50 miles of Springfield, all found in remote wooded areas, all under suspicious circumstances. None solved. Jeannette's death fits the pattern, but her case was never linked to the others. Why? Because her file went missing. One retired detective, speaking anonymously in 2018, said, "We knew. We just didn't have the manpower." Or was it the willpower? Theory number 3. The ritual. Here's what the leaked files did mention. A handwritten note from a state trooper, buried under coffee stains. It read, Symbols at scene match those from a 1968 case in Berks County. Cult activity suspected. But that's it. No further details. No follow-up. And when journalists tried to find the 1968 case, the records had been lost in a flood. But the most damning detail? The timing. Jeannette's body was found on September 19th, 1972, exactly 1 month later. On October 19th, a local farmer reported seeing figures in robes lighting bonfires in the same woods. Police dismissed it as teenagers. But here's the kicker. October 19th is the feast of the guardian angels in certain esoteric traditions. A day for rituals. The missing piece is Jeannette's sister. Mary spent years fighting for answers. In 2001, she finally got a copy of the autopsy report. It was 3 paragraphs long. The cause of death? Left blank. The coroner? Dead since 1983. And the officer who signed off on it? Promoted to chief 2 years later. Then there's the necklace. Mary swears Jeannette was buried with it. But when the grave was exhumed in 2016 during a fruitless DNA review, the coffin was empty. No necklace. No explanation. The bigger picture in 2020. A retired Springfield cop drunkenly told a true crime podcaster, "That DePalma girl? We were told to stay quiet. For the town's sake." When pressed, he clammed up. 2 weeks later, he died of a heart attack at 68. No autopsy. So what are we left with? A girl erased, a police department that lost the truth, and a town that traded justice for silence. But here's the thing about secrets. They rot. They fester. And sooner or later, they crawl back into the light. Time moves on. People forget. But not here. Not in Springfield. Because Jeannette DePalma's story didn't end in those woods. It infects this town. It lives in the cracks of old rumors, the shivers down spines, and the shadows that linger just a little too long. Let's start with the bulldozers. In 1994, the county approved a plan to flatten the woods where Jeannette died. They called it Progress, a new parking lot for a shopping plaza. But locals knew the truth. You don't bulldoze a forest to build a parking lot. You do it to bury secrets. By the time activists protested, it was too late. The stones, the symbols, the shack, all paved over, a fresh layer of asphalt hiding a festering wound. Jeannette's mother, Ruth, died in 2003. She spent her final years in a nursing home, staring at the walls, repeating the same phrase to anyone who'd listen. They're still out there. Nurses thought she meant the men who killed her daughter. But Ruth never named names. She took her rage, her guilt, and her truths to the grave. Then there are the witnesses, the ones who vanished. Linda, Jeannette's best friend, moved to Oregon in 1975, changed her name, refused to speak to reporters. The gas station clerk who claimed he saw Jeannette with strangers died in a car crash 6 months after her death. The hiker who found her body, Walter Briggs, he quit his job, became a recluse, and shot himself in 1989. Coincidences? Or a pattern? But the dead aren't the only ones keeping secrets. In Springfield, you'll still hear the stories if you know where to listen. Truck drivers passing through swear they've seen a girl in a Led Zeppelin shirt hitchhiking on Route 617, only to vanish from their rearview mirrors. Teenagers dare each other to visit the parking lot at midnight, where some say you can hear faint laughter or crying. And in 2017, a security camera at the plaza caught a shadowy figure kneeling near the old tree line. When police reviewed the footage, it had been deleted. Then came the internet. In 2012, a Reddit thread titled "What Really Happened to Jeannette DePalma" went viral. Armchair detectives pored over scanned police reports, zoomed in on blurry photos, and dug up horrors the town tried to forget. A user named TruthSeeker76 found a 1973 newspaper ad for a spiritual cleansing of the woods, paid for by an anonymous donor. Another uncovered a 1968 police report from a town 30 miles away. A young woman found dead in a creek, a pentagram carved into her palm. The case? Closed. Cause of death? Drowning. But the most chilling discovery came in 2020. A TikTok user claiming to be Jeannette's niece posted a photo of a silver dove necklace, identical to the one Jeannette wore, found in her grandfather's attic. The clasp was broken. The chain, stained with something dark. The post blew up until it was mysteriously taken down. The user's account? Deleted. And yet, the questions keep coming. Why did the Springfield Library lose all its 1972 yearbooks? Why does the local church have a boarded-up basement room a room old-timers call the Devil's Chapel? And why? In 2022, did a construction crew digging up the plaza parking lot quit en masse after finding animal bones and a child's sneaker? Size 6, caked in mud. The police say it's nothing. The town says it's nothing. But you don't erase a girl's life, bulldoze her grave, and silence everyone who knew her unless it's something. Jeannette DePalma's ghost isn't haunting Springfield. Springfield is haunted by itself, by the lies it told, the truths it buried, and the fear that one day, someone will dig too deep and find what's left of her. So, what really happened to Jeannette DePalma? Was she a reckless teenager who wandered too far, got lost, and succumbed to the elements? That's what the reports say. But reports don't explain altars. They don't explain symbols. They don't explain why a town would rather bulldoze its history than face it. Was she killed by someone she knew? A boy from school? A stranger in the shadows? A cult that promised her power but gave her only pain? The truth is, we'll probably never know. The evidence is gone. The witnesses are dead. The woods are a parking lot. But here's what keeps me up at night. Jeannette's story isn't unique. For every case like hers that makes headlines, there are 100 others buried in shallow graves of bureaucracy and silence. How many towns like Springfield exist? How many secrets are hiding behind closed doors, under fresh concrete, or in the smiling faces of people who've sworn to forget? Jeannette's death wasn't an accident. It was a crime, not just against her, but against the truth itself. And the longer we ignore the rot festering in these quiet places, the more we become part of the lie. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you drive through a small town, with its tidy lawns and waving neighbors, ask yourself, what are they hiding? What stories do they tell themselves to sleep at night? And what's buried under your feet?